head hurts so much. I think I've gone too deep, guys.
And we are back for another episode of Dead Last Cycling. And this week, we're racing the final real stage of Zwift Games 2026. And I was apprehensive for this one, and with good reason.
All right, lads, so I say it every week. This is the hardest Zwift race I've ever done. But this week, it genuinely is hard. 3 step-sisters. And step-sister 1 and 2, they only look small on the mini-map because the grade is that big. This is a true mountaintop finish.
Stepsister 1 and 2, or Jarvis KOM and Epic KOM Reverse, we're going to drain our legs before the older, bigger, and uglier stepsister, the grade, finished us off, and not in a good way. But it wasn't all bad news, as the feather shortage has finally ended.
Every other Zwift Games stage, we've had a feather preservation society going. This week, they've saved up all those feathers, and we get, I think, 13 feathers. So it's going to be feather early, feather often.
Despite having a good hour until we met her, the grade was looming large already. At least I think it was.
Is that the grade in the distance? It's one of them. It's got to be one of them. That looks very tall. I'm not actually sure if I've ever done this climb. I might have done it once or twice. But I've never done it at pace. I say at pace, I'll be crawling up there.
At least we'd be crawling up there in some new swag, as I decided to throw on the Zwift Games jersey in honour of the final stage, and after the win last week, it felt like we'd earned using it.
Well, let's get into it. Stepsister number 1 coming up.
In the grand scheme of things, Jarvis KOM is barely an amuse-bouche, but with a steep punch to start, people decided to hit things off hard.
We're really hitting here, 5 watts per kilo, 6 watts per kilo by Brent.
That was a few more watts than I was expecting people to push so early on.
Pedal over the top here, always pedal over the top.
First little kick done and the group was strung out, but the pace was a long way from challenging, and with just another 30-second or so punch left to go, I was feeling comfortable.
That's the steep part over.
There was still the drag over the top to do, but Stepsister 1, in effect, was basically completed.
Something that I think will probably come into it today, at least more so than any other race I've done, is fueling. So, I've got 2 bottles, plenty of sugar in there, electrolytes.
I'm not a sugar scientist, and I know it's only an hour, but an hour where you're consistently dipping into the red must have some impact on your glycogen. With that in mind, I wasn't sure on my best approach for the race.
So one of the big questions that I've been lingering is what's better for me? Do I just chill, follow the wheels? Or do I try to make this second climb, which is it's like reverse KOM or something, and then the bypass bit? Do I try to make that hard? Do I try to thin the herd?
My 20-minute power isn't terrible, but I'm much more of a 1 to 6 minute type of rider, so I knew realistically I was competing for the minor places today. If I could help drop a few people on the second stepsister, or make them go deeper than they wanted to, it might help me out on the grade. But it wasn't just today's race I was thinking about.
I don't think this group will be setting a fast GC time because we are not pushing the pace at all, which is unfortunate because the other angle for today is that when I checked last week for my ZRS band, 300 to 400, I was just outside the top 100 of GC for that band. One element of the smaller group size is we're not going to be pulling through as much. And I'll hold my hand up as the first person, and long-time viewers will know I'm never pulling through. Shameless.
Whilst our group wasn't the biggest and the pace was slow, even the bigger Zwift races I've been in thin out pretty quickly after the first test or two. So I knew our overall pace wouldn't be too bad compared to other races. But I think it's time we got to that second test.
Feather early or feather late on this, we're not sure. Maybe feather early.
As we crossed the bridge into the foot of Epic KOM Reverse, or Blob for short, the pace finally started to pick up, and I decided I wanted to light it up myself, but I definitely wasn't the only interested party.
Really stretched out behind.
I didn't expect us to get away, especially with the long shallow bypass section that follows, but in theory, this type of kick is something I can recover from, so I was pleased people were pushing.
Get to the yellow section and draft.
The bypass might look like nothing, but if you've had to go well beyond your limit at the start of the climb, it can feel like it lasts forever and keep your heart rate absolutely pinned, especially if you're in a group that's trying to catch back up, and that's exactly what was happening. We had our group of around 10, and a few seconds further back were some hard charging smaller groups trying to make it back on. Nobody was interested in pulling us across the false flats, but that meant we were already in recovery mode.
We've got a long time to recover now. Would not be surprised to see some people come back, but we'll be recovering for a bit longer.
Gradually, one by one, small groups did come back, and our numbers swelled over the course of the bypass to somewhere between 15 and 20 riders. I'd gone deep at the start of the second stepsister, but a lot of people had had to ride harder for longer, and I was actually feeling pretty good today after what overall was a more relaxed week of training.
Had a bit of a different week this week because the weather has been better. So I've been outside for 3 rides, which has been more training volume, but maybe a bit less intensity.
As good as Zwift is, I think we all know that the time absolutely flies outside in comparison, but I'll definitely be leaving the racing for Zwift only. It could be fun to whack a camera on the bike though. But with Stepsister 1 and 2 completed, my attention shifted back to the big, bad and ugly Stepsister number 3.
On the grade, logically speaking, it would be faster to negative split it probably, if I was alone. But I'm not alone. So, do I try to stay with people on the first section and then ride the second half at my own pace? I really don't know, guys. I have no experience of this.
I've not really done many climbs of any sort of length before. My longest in a race has been Box Hill, and the only other thing I've climbed longer is my single time up Alp de Zwift. So I wasn't sure what to do. Should I pick a number to hold or just try to race? And I have to be honest, I was nervous.
Oh, I'm getting scared. I'm getting nervous. Genuinely, I can feel it. Bit of fluttering. I do not know what to expect of myself. This is uncharted territory.
However I rode it, the grade was going to hurt, and I really didn't know if I could take that pain for the 16 to 18 minutes it would take, especially because it was likely at some stage I'd end up adrift on my own, at which point it's all too easy to just say to yourself, it hurts too much, and knock the power down to tempo. I was also not sure who the real contenders were today.
Because I usually race in the same time slot, I usually have a good idea of who's who. I have no idea in this one who's who. Novo Goradio seems strong on the first climb. Dale seems like he's a strong guy. I think PBS seems strong on the first climb.
I'd missed my usual slot as I'd been watching Milan San Remo, which was absolute cinema, and hopefully I'd be able to draw some inspiration from it on the grade.
Oh man. Here we go, guys. I'm genuinely nervous. Let's do our best.
Somewhere along the way, I decided my best option was to try to stick with as many people as possible in the first half. It's not the pacing strategy I'd use if riding it solo, but the psychological edge of a race is huge, and if you're well off the pace early, the mental cracks can crater open.
Harder than I wanted here.
I knew this amount of power wasn't sustainable for me, but by stacking back-to-back feathers, I was able to hold on for a while longer, and a clear pecking order was emerging on the climb, with a second group starting to drop back.
Gotta use the feather early, try to stay a little bit in this guy's draft. I know it's barely any advantage, but...
I'm not sure what the draft gives you on a climb like this. It can't be much, but pretty soon, one by one, I had to start letting wheels go, and I was questioning my choices.
Oh, it hurts so much. I think I've gone too deep, guys.
I was now with just Richter and Langer, and there was a gap building to the second group. It was vital I found a way to hold on to the flat middle section for a brief moment's recovery in one of their wheels. It wasn't long though before I had to let Richter go. I was prepared to go deep here, but any deeper and I'd ruin my race. I was on the edge of the abyss, Not quite falling off yet, but staring down into it, and it was calling my name.
Not being no man's land. Over the top here.
Langer had a gap on me, but I managed to draw out a punch over the top to close somewhat into his wheel to enjoy a little bit of recovery on the flat before being thrown right back into the steep stuff. I did my best to try to hang with Langer as the gradient kicked back up, but I quickly realised I just didn't have it.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gone. I'll follow.
I was well and truly on my own and unsure whether I'd managed to swallow my ego in time as I struggled to get the watts back up. With nobody immediately around me, I turned my attention to the segment tracker to try to make things more manageable.
67%, but barely less than half of the gradient gone.
Looking at the timing sheet though, it didn't seem like I'd be on my own for long.
PBS is coming back to me, and Dale.
PBS and Matthew Dale were charging behind me, and I wasn't even thinking about Richter in the front. I just had to keep the pedals turning, and I started trying to negotiate with myself.
Come on, man, please. Hold it together.
More than 70% done, I was deep in a sufferfest, but still managing to dance on the edge. My power had come down a little bit, but I wasn't fully cracking. PBS was drawing nearer and nearer though, and as we approached gate 8, the writing was on the wall.
PBS has got me. Fine. That's fine, it's me against me.
80% done, but the grade bites hardest at the top. I was in real danger of blowing up and falling out of the top 10, but psychologically, being ahead helped me keep pushing.
Yeah, PBS is gonna get by me, chapeau, man.
With PBS gone, my attention turned to Matthew Dale behind, and whilst a 20-second gap might seem like a lot, with the gradients due to kick up to 12%, it's a gap that can evaporate almost instantly.
Dying. Ankle hurts. Everything hurts.
My entire body was screaming at me. Everything said to stop, just chill and ride in for 8th, 9th or 10th.
That's a long 275 meters.
275 metres on a climb like the grade is a long way, but realising that that was all that was left was just the carrot I needed to keep fighting, and as we got within striking distance, Richter was slowing, so I decided to see what was left in the tank, if anything.
Come on. Gotta find a little win in these things, guys. Yes. Gotta find a little win. Oh, that was hard. Capo, everyone. That was really hard. Pleased with that. That rounds off Zwift Games. We've had a good Zwift Games. We got a win. We had some good results. I think we performed well there. It was me against me.
I didn't quite crack the top 100 of my ZRS band, but I'm happy with 117th and a stage win.
As always, thank you for watching. If you could like, comment, subscribe, I'd appreciate it very much. And I'll see you all next week.
For next week, it's either the TT or the steering race. Now I'm leaning towards the steering race because the TT sounds boring, but let me know what you think I should do.